It's 7:35 West African time. This is Daybreak. Thanks for staying with us. Exactly 5 years after the NSAS protest, security forces in Abuja on Monday clamped down on protesters demanding the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB.
7 a.m. and protesters led by activist Omoyele Sowore and the legal team of detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu, are gathering at the Maitama Junction. The group had earlier put out a notice calling on Nigerians to hit the streets in demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Minutes later, security operatives comprising police and military officers stormed the venue, firing shots and tear gas at the protesters. The protesters regrouped around Beggar Roundabout, from where they peacefully marched to tackle.
What do we want? Free Nnamdi Kanu! What do we want? Free Nnamdi Kanu!
Well, for more on this, we're joined on the line from Porto in Portugal by the lawyer and rights activist Emmanuel Ogebe. Thank you for joining us.
Barrister Emmanuel Ogebe, thank you for joining us live from Porto on Daybreak. We understand we've read your petition to the United States government and on Nigeria being designated a country of particular concern. And now we are seeing a protest, nationwide protest happening in Nigeria on free Nnamdi Kanu. What do you make of this situation right now, coming 5 years after the NSAS protest?
Yes. Well, first of all, let me clarify that the petition I was consulted on, but it wasn't my petition. Several of my colleagues and associates signed the petition, and I am privy to it. Now, the sad thing about yesterday's occurrence is that Sowore, myself, and President Tinubu were all in the pro-democracy movement against Abacha so many years ago. And it is sad that, with those kinds of antecedents, President Tinubu would see something like this happen in the capital of Nigeria. The second really sad aspect is that just a few weeks ago, we saw armed men, armed to the teeth, even with RPGs, meeting with government officials for so-called peace meetings. And now we have peaceful protesters being fired on. The message that is sending is that in Nigeria, for you to get attention, you have to be violent. And that if you're a peaceful protester, violence will be rained upon you. And that is not a good message for any society to send.
Yeah, we also look at the engagement of the security forces at yesterday's protest. How would you describe the conduct of security forces? Because we understand that we could see that tear gas was thrown, even though it has denied using live ammunition. But we saw that it was a major shutdown of the Federal Capital Territory, while some key cities in the southeast, like Huma here and some other towns, were also completely shut down. What do you make of the rules of engagement of Nigeria's security forces within that context?
Again, this is a replay of what happened at Lekki. We had the same situation where the military fired upon innocent civilians and, they denied it. And ultimately, it was proven to be true. Again, that was also linked to Tinubu's business at the Lokitel Toll Plaza. And sadly, we have not learned from history, and it is happening again. Now, let me emphasize that shooting at civilians is never acceptable. In the US, we just had the No Kings rally. Over 8 million people came out to protest against President Trump. And would you believe the only 22 people who were arrested were supporters of Trump who came to harass the people who were protesting peacefully? Nobody was killed. Nobody was shot. There was essentially no tear gas even on 8 million people. So we as a country have to do better. Let me point out that I felt that where President Tinubu would be different from Buhari was that he would engage with protesters in a more amiable manner. Look at what is happening in southeast Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu is not a terrorist in the manner of all the Kachalas in the northwest and northeast who are doing all of this terrorism. Why are they not making efforts to dialogue with him? Why are the people of southeast Nigeria not worthy to be communicated with or engaged with the same way that they engage with terrorists in northern Nigeria? And again, this is not a good message to send to the nation.
To that petition, which you and your associates wrote to the U.S. government, asking that Nigeria be designated a country of particular concern. We know that Senator Ted Cruz had described what's happening in Nigeria as genocide. The Nigerian authorities say this is a fairy tale in light of the fact that it misrepresents the complexity of the security challenges in Nigeria. Talk me through that petition and why it matters so much to you and your associates.
Let me state for the record that originally I was the one who filed the petition to the US government to get Boko Haram designated as a foreign terrorist organization. I did a 75-page brief. And what happened was the Obama administration was reluctant to do it. So out of annoyance, the members of Congress decided to introduce a bill to force the designation of Boko Haram as an FTO because the executive was not doing it. The same thing is happening now. What had happened was that the Trump administration, the last first term, designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious persecution because of the way General Buhari mishandled the issue. When the Biden administration came in, they removed the designation. So the Congress, again, in annoyance, at another instance where the administration was refusing to do what they needful, decided to introduce a bill to designate it. Let me be very clear. There is no doubt that there is ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. We all are privy to what is happening. For the past 12 years, in Northeast Nigeria, they will stop taxis on the highway and they will select the Christians, kill the males, take the women as sexual slaves, and allow the Muslims to go. This has been happening for over a decade. So there's no doubt about it. The real question here is whether there's complicity or complacency by the Nigerian government. That is what the International Religious Freedom Act looks at, whether the government is behind it or the government is allowing it. And this regime of President Tinubu has an opportunity to address that issue in a way Buhari did not. And my candid advice to them is, look at the concerns that are being raised and find a way to mitigate them, because that is what Sudan did. Sudan was able to get off the CPC list and go down to watch list because they addressed the concerns. Propaganda will not cover up what the reality is in northern Nigeria.
You know that some may see you as a traitor for allegedly trying to bring down your country because this has implications for Nigeria. Tell me whether this worries you and whether you are also afraid for your safety.
So let me be clear, because I have been an expert on Nigeria in Washington for about 25 years. And of course, I was privileged to meet you there when you served in Washington for many years as bureau chief. So I am consulted on issues relating to Nigeria. This particular petition, I didn't sign, but I had input. I reviewed it when they were putting it together. I will tell you this. At the United Nations 3 weeks ago, I met a Nigerian minister and I told her, sanctions are about to be imposed on your country. Do X, Y, Z. Do you know that since the minister left, she has not responded to any messages that I sent her? So we have done everything we can to try and reason with the Nigerian government that this thing is coming your way, but you can mitigate it. Again, they said they're sending delegations to Washington. If you come here and blow grammar, so long as you don't address the issues, you will have this problem. Now, let me quickly say this. This is my first time on your show since you lost your colleague, Somi. So please accept my condolences. But if you investigate that case, you will see that the people who attacked her home obtained their weapons from Niger. If you dig into it, you will find out that it is the same terroristic elements who are in partnership with banditry, who are going around doing these things. And no part of Nigeria is safe from them. The last we saw, the data we saw, about 270 locations, forests in Nigeria have been occupied by these terrorists. And statistically, Nigeria is the world's deadliest place to be a Christian. More Christians have been killed in Nigeria than the rest of the world combined for the last 13 out of 14 years. These are data points that are confirmed, that are known, that are tracked in the world. So again, let's not deny the obvious. Let us address the elephant in the room.
Okay, addressing the elephant in the room, Mr. Emmanuel Ogebe, I wonder if you have thought of the consequence of Nigeria being designated a country of particular concern at a time when the government is driving a very delicate and complex reform program. But in as much as this, when you look at the response from the government, that it has admitted that there are killings, but designating it, bringing this religious coloration to Nigeria's insecurity problem looks a bit more worrisome because we've seen attacks in the mosques also in northern Nigeria. Don't you see it as a bit misleading to designate Nigeria as a country of a religious genocide against Christians?
Let me be very clear about this issue. Some of the concerns raised by the congressman in his bill is the issue of blasphemy. Do you know that the people who are in prison in Nigeria now, who were sentenced to death and life imprisonment for blasphemy, are Muslims and an atheist? So the bill is addressing not only Christian persecution, but even Muslims who are suffering as well. Let me even point out something sad. Muslims who are accused of blasphemy have the opportunity to go to court and be tried. But a Christian like Deborah Emmanuel was killed, was burnt alive, recorded on video, and nobody has been convicted till this day. And the same thing with Eunice in Abuja, the same thing with Bridget in Kano. So let's not play games with this thing. Secondly, let me point something out. Nigeria has been designated before, and Nigeria didn't die. What happened at that time was that they waived the sanctions. Remember that they are not targeting the citizens who are the victims of the oppression, but the country that doesn't act to address it. Okay, I'm from Benue State. Look at what happened in Yelwata. In Yelwata, 200 people were killed in one night. That same week, Israel and Iran were fighting with aircraft and missiles. And in the 6 days, the number of people killed in Israel and Iran was not up to the 200 people who were killed in Yelwata in one night. And we say it's not a genocide. I went to ZK in Plateau State. One woman lost 7 family members in one night on Palm Sunday. They killed 54 people. Her husband, her father-in-law, her mother-in-law, her brother-in-law, and her children. How can we as a country see ourselves being killed and international community is saying, look, work to address the killings in your country? By the way, we all know that the Fulanis who are perpetrating this terror are foreign fighters who were brought in for political reasons. So why can't we put our house together and protect ourselves? It makes no sense. We cannot allow ourselves to be killed in vain. If we will not do it ourselves, then nobody will do it for us.
Give our viewers context. You are a Northern Christian and a rights activist for that matter. It means that you have a wealth of information at your disposal. Tell me what you hope to achieve, or if you think you will achieve anything in the short, medium, and long term.
killings have to stop. It is not sustainable. I can tell you that a place like Goza has been occupied by Boko Haram for more than 12 years. I have been to Cameroon and seen Nigerians in refugee camps in Cameroon till today. They're not back in their country, and it is not right. So for the immediate thing that needs to happen is the killings must be stopped. We need to have a situation where those Nigerians who are refugees in Cameroon can be brought back to the country. That means there must be clearance of the regions that are occupied by terrorists. The Fulani killer terrorists, again, have to be moved out of Nigeria. They are not citizens of Nigeria. They can't speak Hausa. That is the shocking thing about them. They can't speak English. They're easily identifiable. They come in here and they intimidate Nigerian Fulanis to join them. So we need Nigerian Fulanis and the Hausas who are also victims of them, because Hausa victims in the Northwest exist. We all need to band up and say it is better for us to protect our nation, Nigeria, than to owe allegiance to foreigners who don't care whether Nigeria survives or not. So we want to see the Nigerian government set up an international team that will work on sanctions issues so that we can address all of these issues one by one.
Right. Can you give us instances where the designation of a country as a country of particular concern has made any difference, and if you think it will make any difference in Nigeria?
Yes, the clear example was Sudan. Sudan was an egregious violator for many, many years, and they were top-ranked CPC. And when the government of al-Bashir was overthrown, the new regime that came in said, look, you know what, we're going to fix things. And they actually hosted an international religious freedom roundtable in Sudan, and everybody was able to air their views peacefully. And the US downgraded them from CPC to special watch list. If you look at that petition is saying that they don't want Trump to designate Nigeria as special watch list. They want Nigeria to be CPC. So it is a foregone conclusion that Nigeria is going to be designated this year. Forget what Boutros, the special envoy to Trump on Africa, said. He's a Lagosian. He doesn't know the experience of people in northern Nigeria. And for someone who is from Lebanon, he knows what happened to his country. It's divided religiously. He cannot come here and tell us what is happening in our own country. So Sudan is a classic example, a case study of a country that sat down and said, let us address this issue. And the US downgraded them. Nigeria can address this issue. Tinubu is a very sophisticated operator. He can get his attorney general, foreign affairs minister, set up a committee and look at the concerns and address them one by one. This is required by law in the US. There are parameters and indicators that you can meet and you'll be taken off.
Okay. Now, putting this in the proper perspective, now we've had a lot of people from government to the clergy reacting to the U.S. government designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern. I wonder if this is a genocidal crisis or a crisis of narratives, because the Minister of Information said Nigeria faces an existential threat from foreign actors that plans and plot to weaken the unity of the country.
There is no foreign actor that is weakening Nigeria more than the foreign Fulani fighters that have come in and are destroying this country. Listen, the current national security advisor said before his appointment that the reasons that the Fulanis are killing is because Buhari did not keep his promises to them. We need to know what promises were made to them. Whether we like it or not, it is in the public space that they imported foreign fighters for election purposes, thinking that they would violently take over the country if he did not win the election. President Jonathan graciously stepped aside. And because of that, they didn't get the violent pillaging that they were promised. And that is why we see what is going on. Let me make it clear. You cannot argue that the reason why there's no Christian genocide is because others are being killed. That is madness. That is admitting your failure in the eyes of the world. You should not be happy that others are being killed. Sure, Muslims are occasionally collateral damage, But the fact remains that the violence is coming from their ranks.
All right.
And whether some of them are killed as well doesn't change the fact that their objective is to eradicate Christians. It is there are videos announcing these things.
Okay. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for joining us on Daybreak. Emmanuel Ogebe is an activist and lawyer. He joined us live from Porto in Portugal. Thank you.